is about a pathways class that I created last year to test the theory that it might be possible to teach a highly complex technical subject, computer music, to a diverse group of students with no prerequisites. So that was the experiment. And the concept then was really based on a heterogeneous student population, groups of students who had very different things to bring to the table, and some who had never written a line of code, some who had never created a work of art. And then we would see what happened. And with that kind of learning community, it seemed to be a little bit limiting to expect that everybody would get the same thing out of the class. So rather, it was assumed that each student would find his or her own pathway through the class to divergent outcomes. And the students did not disappoint. In the end, they did some very different kinds of things, some of them creating chat rooms for sound. One group wired up a computer keyboard to make sounds and played poetry on it. Another built a physical instrument. So lots of interesting things came out of this. Now, in education, I personally feel that empathy is one of the most important non-content things that we can convey. We really need as much empathy as possible as our world gets more and more complex, and art practice is a very good place to start. And music also, in our model of hands-on, minds-on, it's fundamentally hands-on, minds-on, so it really lends itself to this purpose. Whether you're creating computer music or playing clarinet, you're making, you're doing, but you're also thinking at the same time. So it lends itself to this pedagogy. Another thing, sonic art, where digital sound manipulation is very prevalent, is a vital international concern. So when we start looking at what other people are doing in this field, we find a world that's much more like the world students actually are going to be living in. Another thing that our students get, especially students who might be in a more teleological kind of learning path where they know they're going to get to a particular result, wrestling with the possibility that you're not going to succeed the first time and they end up in a very different place than you expected seems to be a way to activate their minds. Another point in intercultural awareness is to get students aware of how diverse the culture is here at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, and to leverage that as part of the teaching of digital sound manipulation. And again, in terms of integrating different practices, the world of computer music is one that inherently integrates computational thinking and also artistic creation. So we don't really have to stretch the subject matter. It really lends itself to that kind of thinking. In terms of the mechanics of the class, for someone who's never made an artistic piece before, a class that is 90% about the student's work, there's almost no built-in content. The student content comes from the students. We basically take aesthetic evaluation out of the equation. Now, this is another question I've thought a lot about different kinds of classes. And some classes have to be done in sequence. You have to know arithmetic before you can study calculus, for example. But this is very much a class about making connections between the students in the class and then outward to other disciplines. Another thing that students learn through artistic practice is that the outcome is very often not what you thought you were going for. You're looking for India and you discover America, for example. And so in the process of doing some very technical, very constrained things, the students make artistic discoveries that they wouldn't necessarily have expected. And then as students get to the end of the process in this class and feel more confident, they do a final project. They tell us, me, the teaching assistant, what they want to do. They define the project. And so these projects are very diverse in format. Another important aspect of the class is group work. And because of the heterogeneous nature of the learning community, students are very likely the only student in their particular discipline in a group, so they develop respect for what they bring to the table and also what a group can achieve that they could not achieve as individuals. Now, although we take aesthetic assessment out of the grading process, we absolutely do want to give students feedback on what they've done and to deal seriously with our ideas. And so essentially, we have individual meetings to discuss their artwork. Not graded, but they get feedback on what they're doing. Another thing is because so much of what is really important about the class is not captured in the grade, we talk about what that means. We talk about the fact that one student might get a B by just ticking boxes, another might really dive into the class. Well, what happened there? Is that fair? Who got the most out of it? And so we build on that to really talk about the ethics of quality, of really, if your test is just a multiple choice test, you can't go beyond getting all the answers right. But if there's an aspirational aspect that isn't captured in the grade, you can go beyond, do something possibly great. And also, as an educator, I find it's valuable to embrace both the person who can explain things step by step, but also to be non-linear and surprising and prankish in the classroom. And finally, every healthy institution needs to have a place where its members go to dream. And it's my hope that this class within our curriculum in music is a place where the students can dream together, and hopefully at the end of the experience they'll wake up with ideas and experiences that they can integrate into their larger education. Thank you very much.